I'd like to now pass it to Dhawal Sharma to give us a demonstration of Zscaler Digital Experience.
Thank you, Sanjit, and thank you everyone for participating in the panel. In the next 15 minutes, my intent is to walk you through what is Zscaler Digital Experience and how it works, and then show you a quick demo of the capabilities. So without wasting any further time, let me quickly share my screen and walk you through some of the use cases that we are going to walk through today. So when you think about digital experience and as you know Zscaler, one of the key things we have built in Zscaler or a solution area is modern workplace enablement, which essentially means aligned with the broader work from anywhere philosophy. Key goal here is to improve productivity and reduce business risk. So your employees are secure through Zscaler Zero Trust Exchange. ZIA makes sure internet traffic is protected, and ZPA ensures employees connect to private applications securely. Another key tenet of modern workplace enablement is greater user experience. If you provide great security at expense of user experience, as we heard from our panelists, your end users are going to be unhappy. So this is why we built a massive cloud footprint to not only provide secure access to application, but also fastest access to these applications that your employees are using for day-to-day business. And ZDX provides a consistent view of your employees' user experience through a scoring framework, which we call as ZDX score. When ZDX score is bad, you can actually look at the underlying metrics that could be causing user experience issues. It's a score which is computed between 0 to 100. When bad score also can lead you to underlying metrics to determine what is causing bad score. Score also provides a real-time indication of systematic problems or a localized problem, which then could be diagnosed further using live troubleshooting capabilities that we have in ZDX. So score typically for a digital experience perspective depends on 3 variables. And the 3 variables are application, networking, and endpoint. From an application perspective, it is important to do an end-to-end monitoring of app performance, looking at behavior of application. For example, ability to generate alerts, which can be triggered when certain thresholds are triggered. For example, for most common web-based internet applications, page fetch time is a good indicator. So if page fetch time for a web application is going to X, definitely there's some event that is causing it. For example, for the voice application, page fetch time is not a relevant metric. We can have that scoring based on something like a MOS score. In addition to application, you also look at network from every single user's device as well, not from certain vantage point or in a data center or in provider's network, because every user is unique. In today's world, everyone is working from home. There are so many issues that happen on the first mile, example, local Wi-Fi router at the home, or latency on the corporate LAN, or on the first mile itself. And finally, the endpoint. These are the devices that users are using. So if there is an operating system upgrade or a software update that has happened, which has caused CPU spike, which is now consuming more cycles on your network interface, for example, that could impact the user experience as well. So bringing these 3 views together is really important. So when you bring these views together, as you can see on the dashboard on the left, you can see a global view of all your employees across the globe for all key applications you care for, whether internal or external application. You can view ZDX score for users or an application or for a location. Our agent provides location of every single user, which is then aggregated at a geo level, or you can see it at entire organization level as well. When scores are not looking good, like you can see in this example, the global Salesforce.com score was bad. When I took this screenshot, there was actually an issue going on with Salesforce due to which our corporate tenant was impacted. You can click here and see the underlying cause of that issue and run the live troubleshooting scenarios as well. We have talked a lot about scoring, as in scoring is different from traditional monitoring tools, which are based on defining thresholds. We actually take a baselining-based approach, and I'll talk about it when I do a demo. When score is bad, you can drill and see some of the underlying metrics. And this slide gives you an idea about what some of those underlying metrics are. If you are from a network or an endpoint team, you will appreciate some of the metrics we are talking about here. As I mentioned, from an application perspective, when we think about web application, page fetch time is a good indicator. But for voice application, we are going to use FOSS score. But there are other underlying metrics like server response time, DNS resolution time, or availability of the application itself that are being monitored as well, and we provide time series data for that. From network perspective, we look at every single hop on the data path, including the egress from the user's home, upstream ISPs that Zscaler is using in their data center. We provide you AS number, ISP information of every single hop that gives you a good idea whether your traffic is routed well, or sometimes it is suboptimally routed and adding latency on the data path, or there's more packet loss on the data path. If you're going through Zscaler for internet security or private access, we would also show you our own cloud hops. And if Zscaler is causing an issue, we'll highlight that as well. From an endpoint perspective, we look at time series usage of CPU, memory, disk, but also critical device events. For example, if your device restarted or flipped to a different Wi-Fi network, we can correlate that with the drop in the application score. So bringing that single pane of glass from a endpoint, network, and application perspective is something that ZDX provides to you. So the next question is, how does this work and how do I deploy it? Actually, it is the simplest product to deploy if you are already a Zscaler customer and you have deployed our client connector. We have built the instrumentation for ZDX into our client connector, which you already are using for ZIA and ZPA service. It can work without these services as well, but if you are a customer who has already deployed our services, it becomes much easier. Beyond that, all it takes is to enable a few monitoring profiles for key applications, for which we also provide pre-built templates in the product. And moment you enable these monitoring probes, our client on user's computer would start sending these probes to the application with full user context, as our agent is already authenticated. One of the major advantage of deploying ZDX is to not use another monitoring tool or agent on the user device. And it literally has less than 1% impact on the user's device, like resource usage. So you can choose to deploy it either for your entire organization, or you can deploy it by group in your AD, and end users data will start getting captured, and you can start seeing rich telemetry being created within a couple of hours after deploying ZDX. So this was a high-level overview of what ZDX and how it works. At this point, I would like to flip to a live demo, and we'll come back to summarize some of the unique differentiation that we see with ZDX. So I'm going to share my screen, and I'm going to dig into Zscaler's corporate tenant, where we have all Zscaler employees coming through, data coming through our ZDX system. So as you can see, I'm looking at a 4-hour window, and all the key applications that we actually care from a Zscaler perspective that our employees use for day-to-day work are being monitored here. This include common SaaS applications like Box, Salesforce, Microsoft Teams, or even our internal application like a Jira server that is running in our data center. Now, you can see that this is the global view. The ZDX score for our internal Jira server is pretty low. This is due to the fact that we are performing some maintenance on it, and all the employees that are based out of various parts of US are impacted, but employees who are in India are still able to access it. But when you have these kind of outage or scenarios where the majority of users impacted, these are easier to understand. The real hard problem comes when a specific user is getting impacted due to on an application on which otherwise there's a good score, and your SaaS provider is not providing good visibility. So let's take example of Microsoft Teams, for example. So Teams score looks pretty healthy. As you can see, Teams experience across the globe looks pretty good as well. I was talking to one of our employees who's based in Washington, Oregon. He was telling me he was on call with our client today morning on Teams, and he's seeing issues where he was not able to connect. He did some diagnostics on network, and everything looked good. Now, one thing you can see on ZDX console is that you can look at the global view, but you can quickly drill down into a specific geo or a user level view. We provide user search capability, so you can search for a given user. I can search myself, and I can go to my specific view here by just clicking here, or I can start at a geo level view. Since our agent is providing latitude, longitude information from the device, we can actually see where the users are coming from. So this specific user is based in Washington, DC. So let me, in Washington, Oregon area. So if I look in Washington, I have about 13 Zscaler employees coming from here, and score looks pretty average at this point. And I want to see who all these users are. And if this specific user, Clint, who reached out to me, is actually having bad score for Microsoft Teams. And Clint's overall score for Microsoft Teams is actually pretty bad. It's about in less than 20, actually. So I can click here and I can start seeing what exactly is happening in Clint's scenario. What could be the underlying cause of this bad score? So first of all, ZDX gives you the device level view. So I can click, I can see Clint is using a couple of devices here. I can click on this device to see more details, like what kind of device he is, what kind of network he's connected to, what version of software he's using, etc. All that detail is here in a device level view. But and I can add other applications also and see what is the performance of other applications from his perspective. Since we are focusing on Teams, so I'll just go through that. You can see that his team score is consistently bad. And what I observed here is that the underlying metric, the page fetch time over here, is running in about 1500 milliseconds to go to the front door of team application. I did look it up earlier. What I realized is that for a regular user coming from US West Coast or from Washington region, the typical page fetch time value is about 300 milliseconds. So his page fetch time value is definitely very high, and so is the server response time, which essentially means that DNS looks pretty good. If I look at the values here, less than 50 milliseconds, application is available. I can also do the full network path trace and see how he's connecting to Microsoft Teams from his home. This is another key advantage of ZDX. We provide you hop by hop view. As I mentioned, I can look at every single hop in the data on the data path and see what is the packet loss latency on that and how this user is connected to Zscaler. Overall latency for this user is less than 50 milliseconds, which is well below what Microsoft recommends for connecting to Teams. So it definitely is not a network path problem. I also looked at his device utilization, like CPU, memory, etc. That looks pretty healthy at this point. I didn't find an outlier event, though he had some device events like his network interface is flipping. Bringing all this additional telemetry context is important to understand when something is going wrong. Here, the most underlying cause is that there is slowness on the application side to respond here, which is causing slowness for this user. Now, as I was looking at his data, another interesting thing here is that at this point, his Wi-Fi signal strength started dropping. So I can click here where his strength has dropped and can see was there an event that is causing this drop in the Wi-Fi signal strength. And I do see that at this point, he's actually flipping to a different Wi-Fi network, which is causing or a different band on the Wi-Fi going from, which would cause slowness in his overall experience as well. And when a user is having a problem, what I can also do is I can start a deep tracing or a live troubleshooting session, which essentially can start doing more aggressive polling and start collecting telemetry data based on which I can create a report. And I can then use this report to share with my networking team or with Microsoft team to make sure they can dig deeper into it. So what you saw in the demo is started with a global view, then I could drill down into a geo-specific view to an application view, and then figure out where what is exactly causing the problem from a specific user perspective. In addition to that, we have also a full alerting framework. So you can set thresholds for alerting, and then when those thresholds are triggered, for example, I see that I have a Salesforce latency issue going on where about 75 geolocation and 110 devices across Zscaler ecosystem are impacted, and I can get this integrated with the ITSM tool like ServiceNow, and my service desk can be made aware. So when a user is going to raise a ticket, they will have context from ZDX already coming. So bringing the proactive aspect of monitoring into the picture as well. With that, I'll actually flip back to the presentation. One more scenario that I took a screenshot earlier, and I'll walk you through, is basically baselining the performance between Office and the home user. So some of our customers, as people are coming back to Office, are basically trying to baseline user experience working from home versus working from the office. This is an example where we see much worse performance working from the office due to a flaky T1 connection and a legacy security architecture, which was causing slowness of the user's data path to come out to Zscaler. From home, employees can go directly to internet through Zscaler, and hence they were having better performance. So you see the page fetch time values are much lower when they're working from home, barring a specific incident when there was a Verizon outage in that issue. But in the office, their performance was much worse. So these were a few examples. To summarize, to wrap up the session, ZDX key differentiation includes that it is built on the same global, highly scalable Zscaler SASE platform with data ingested from every single user, normalized on the endpoint, and then sent to an ingestion and analytics engine that is built with modern big data based technology. You cannot do monitoring of end user experience without instrumenting monitoring from every device, which must be tied to their identity and location information. Context-driven monitoring is something that you are able to set up with ZDX without much sweat. In today's world, monitoring stats are as important to network team as they are to security. So, and also think about workspace teams and network operations teams. Zscaler brings a single pane of glass with its converged security and monitoring stack. And finally, we have a unified agent, and we would not ask your users to install a plugin or into your browser or yet another agent or a virtual machine. We provide the ability to see data path as actual users traffic goes through, not from a dummy monitoring VM in a data center. With that, I'll wrap up my session and pass it on to Sanjit for closing comments.
Thank you, Dhawal. And actually, we have a question from the audience. Someone is asking, I am a current Zscaler customer and I have the client connector. What steps do I need to take to actually turn this product on and get this data that you were showing?
Yeah, so as I was explaining at a high level, it's fairly simple for our existing customers to enable ZDX. Talk to your account team and get a trial license, which would essentially allow you to do a selective entitlement for ZDX in your tenant. So you can say that certain subset of users, let's say Active Directory group of test users who are from the IT team are enabled with ZDX. And then you can go to the ZDX console and there are some base monitoring profiles already pre-configured. You enable them and the monitoring data will start getting collected. And you can come back to the ZDX console within a couple of hours to start seeing telemetry data, and that would start working in within less than 24 hours. You will have enough data to see the value of ZDX.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Dhawal. Well, many thanks to Paul and Eric for sharing your real-world experiences, and Dhawal for the wonderful demonstration. And a thank you to everyone attending today's session. If you missed any part of this or wish to rewatch it, you can visit cxosummit.zscaler.com, and we'll be posting the recording very soon. We want to continue the conversation, so let's not end here. Please join your IT leadership peers in the private Zscaler CXO community on LinkedIn, where you can engage with like-minded innovators and learn secure digital transformation best practices. You can also visit the new CXO Revolutionaries website for practical and actionable insights from working secure digital transformation experts. So from all of us here at Zscaler, take care, stay safe and healthy, and we'll see you at our Global CXO Summit on October 20th. Thank you very much.